Evening, everybody. It's 7:13. I know it's late, but I had an appointment, and so uh, this is your Thursday evening closing comment video number 1763. Okay, so today was decidedly lower, although we did rally back. Not as much as we have the last couple of days, but the Dow was down, over 200, and it finished down 110, or a third of a percent. So not a gigantic move. Stocks were 8 to 5 to the downside there. The Nasdaq down 97.67, or 8 tenths, was the biggest loser, and advanced declines were 7 to 4 there. Volume, though, was on the light side. Yesterday, I think, was 4.9. The day before was 4.8. Today was 4,500,000. We had a bunch of earnings and some other interesting stuff. CSX after the close with a beat top and bottom line. After closing 30.81 up a quarter, it traded up to 31.85. The last was 31.61, up $1.05, or 3.3%. Telephone with a huge miss. The stock had closed 1970, and today traded down to 1765. It actually had a very narrow range and high volume. It did close 1765. So 1756 low, 65 close, down 205, or 10.5%. Although it didn't have any earnings yet, they report, I believe, next week. Verizon was also down in sympathy, had closed 38.60, traded down to 36.98, down $1.41, or 3.6%. And then there's Griffin, GFF. This is a hard one to even talk about, primarily because the company really doesn't have a real industry that it's involved in. The company was put together through a bunch of acquisitions, and frankly, a lot of them, it seems, just don't work. This is a company that makes gardening tools, also remodeling things for the house and closets, also Hunter fan. I mean, this is just a company that has been put together over the years. It has a great pedigree. It was started in 1774 in New York, but it seems to have lost its way. Now, it closed yesterday at 31.61 and traded down to 25.97. It closed pretty much on the high of the day at 29.15, but that was still down almost $2.50, or 7.8%. The reason for that is that a year ago they hired Goldman Sachs to explore options, which is kind of shorthand for let's see if you can sell us. And today they announced that that is over. They're also going to increase a buyback from 58 million shares, $58 million to $258 million. And they are also going to pay a special $2 dividend. All that said, in this market for the last year, if Goldman Sachs couldn't do the job for you, the job probably couldn't get done. Okay, and Augmentix, AUGS. We don't really talk about $3 stocks, especially when $3 is up 90% on the day. But this one's interesting in that it's a sort of a little drug company that now has HCA as a partner. in a project going forward. And the stock closed at 180 yesterday, was a high of 343, and a close at 340, up $1.60. It's that HCA connection that kind of interested me. I picked it up off the tape and then did the homework on it. So that's a huge deal for them. Um, so we'll go there. And also a huge deal, you know, uh, I can't tell you how important it is if you have the time to go into our Discord room. And if you're listening to this, you can see in the information that's attached to this video that there is a link there to get to that room. I bring that up because 2 days ago we had well, actually for the last couple of weeks we had a couple of guys who were trading Costco, and frankly it's a stock that I've never traded before. um, and somebody was talking about the fact that it had worked its way into a little bit of a pennant, and nobody was really sure which way it was going to go. So we were discussing it, and I made the comment that we ought to buy a strangle, use next week's 510 calls and 470 puts. So whichever way it went, the stock was, 490, 492 in that area. And so that was about $150 debit for both sides. Well, the stock started up to the upside this morning, and really there was no news. It closed 496.03 yesterday, traded as high as 510.66 today, and closed at 505.58, up $9.50 after being up 14. So really nice. Those puts don't have a lot of value, although I will say they are not completely worthless since they have another week to go, and Costco is a reasonably high volatility stock. So the April 28th, let's see, let me just, sorry, I just want to make sure that I have this right. Um, okay, the 470 puts closed the day 20 bid, offered at 28. However, the calls really took off. And we had sales between $3.93, some at 440. I know I sold some of mine at $5.16. Um, on the day, they ended up closing at 335, up two and a half. But we're talking about, we put a one and a half, 150 into it, and we got so 150 times, some of the people did two, some of them did four, I did four. We're talking about putting $500 or $600 into the trade, still having the residual of the puts in case the market breaks, which it looked like it was going to do today, and took out about 500% in 2 days. Some of these things don't appear as actual alerts or even level 2 alerts, but we do discuss them. And, it's not like it costs anything to go into that room, and I think it's really highly worthwhile. Okay, tomorrow morning, 9:45, we have the manufacturing and service PMI. That's at 9:45. We also have earnings from Procter and Gamble, SLB, which is the old Schlumberger, and FCX. I really kind of like. I'm looking for a reason to buy the FCX because I really like the copper, as we've discussed here on a pretty regular basis. So that's where we are. The oil continues to move lower. Uh, it was below 77 today. 76.97 was the low. It closed down $1.87 at 77.37. And as I've been saying up until now, this is definitely a chart that needs to close the gap. It's not as important in stocks as it is in commodity futures. So the top of the gap here is 75.72. So we're getting awfully close. It is an area of support. I would expect to see a bit of a rally. Um, but the fact of the matter is, the news isn't that great around the world as far as growth goes. So oil is kind of paying the price. In the other markets we saw today, we had the gold up $11, and that is a nice one in here, because we were looking for a test of that 2000 area. We got down to 1980 yesterday and closed on the high. Today was, a higher high, higher low, which, everyone who listens to me knows I like that after a test. And tonight it's, basically down $2.70, which is just fine with me. I'd like to see it actually maybe test 2007, 2006, in that area, and then break out above this close, which is, there are actually two. This one's 2019.70, and today's is 2019.10. So a close maybe tomorrow above um, 2028, which is not very far from here, $12, would really impress me. The other thing that impressed me clearly was the silver, which actually is down a couple of pennies here. But yesterday, when the gold was down, the silver was actually higher after testing. Also, made a little double bottom here. This one is 24.69, and yesterday's was 24.71, so a slightly higher high, and closing on the high, higher low, higher high. Again, kind of quiet. Anything a close above anything in this 25.50 area probably takes us through to a new high. And if you'll just spend another minute with me, I want to show you what the copper looks like, because I really like this one. Um, we've worked our way back down to support. Um, this red line here is the 100-day moving average. My concern here is that the 5-day is rolling over and crossing to the downside, which is usually, it's called the Dick Donchian trend reversal using a 5 and 20-day moving average. If the 5 goes below, it's bearish. If the 5 pierces it to the upside, it's bullish. It looks like it might do that, but upon further observation, it has done that a couple of times in this move down, and has spent no time there and had big rallies. I mean, it broke it here, and we went basically from 408 down to 394, which is a huge move, made a lower low the next day, but closed on the high and basically moved from 395 in 2 days up to 417. Did it again here, had a move to the downside, put in that bottom of the channel. Did it again here, but only for 2 days. So, haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I do like this. And what I would use probably will be one of the ETFs, COPX, which is the International Copper Miners, Worldwide Copper Miners. Um, in any event, have a good evening. I'll be back first thing in the morning, and, come to the Discord room. It'll pay.